She lost $80,000 in 33 days. She did not sell a single share. 14 months later, she was ahead. That is not a motivational story. That is a portfolio design story. Because the difference between someone who sells in a crash and someone who holds is almost never psychology. It is almost always what they own. March 2020. The S&P 500 dropped to 34% in 33 days, the fastest crash in American market history. A retired hospital administrator from Tennessee had spent 11 years quietly building a portfolio of 6 ETFs. Nothing flashy, no options, no leverage, just consistent buying and reinvesting. Her portfolio lost $67,000 in value in those 33 days. Her neighbors said sell everything. Her brother-in-law moved everything to cash. She did nothing. 14 months later, she had recovered every single dollar, and she was still ahead. Income kept arriving in her account automatically. She never made a single trade. It was not stubbornness, it was not luck, it was architecture. Today, I'm showing you the 5 ETFs built to make holding through a crash feel obvious instead of terrifying. One of them has never cut a dividend since 2011. One of them returned $85,000 from $10,000 over 10 years. And one fund most people are buying right now with an 11% yield that is quietly bleeding them dry while they think they are winning. The decision that saves you in a crash is never made during the crash. It is made the day you choose what to own. Let's get into it. Before the 5 funds, I need to show you one fund that looks perfect on paper and is slowly destroying investors who hold it. Because understanding why it fails is the entire reason the right 5 funds work. MORT, iShares Mortgage Real Estate ETF. Yield over 11%. Sounds incredible. People flood into it chasing that number. Here's what actually happened. The dividend has been shrinking at roughly negative 3.6% per year for a decade. The share price has fallen on average over that same period. You are collecting income while the asset underneath quietly disappears. That is not passive income. That is a slow bleed that looks like a check until it does not. The yield number is not the income. The yield trajectory is the income. Keep that in your mind as I show you what she actually owned. ETF 1, Defensive Foundation, IHF. The first category is defense, and this is the piece most people skip because it looks boring on paper. The job of a defensive ETF is not to lead the portfolio. It is to hold the floor when everything else is falling. It is the part of your portfolio that makes it possible to stay calm when the market drops 20% in 3 weeks. Without it, most investors eventually break. They sell, they lock in losses, and they spend years trying to recover emotionally before they even start recovering financially. The ETF that earns this spot is IHF, the iShares U.S. Healthcare Providers ETF. Here is the logic. People do not stop going to the doctor during a recession. They do not cancel their insurance when markets fall. They do not delay surgery because the Federal Reserve raised interest rates. Healthcare demand is structurally non-negotiable. Revenue does not evaporate during economic stress because the need does not evaporate. IHF holds companies like United Health, CVS, and Humana. Its current dividend yield sits around 1%. If you came here looking for big income right now, that number will disappoint you, but that is not what IHF is for. Since its launch in 2006, IHF has delivered an average annual return of approximately 8.5%. The income it generates is modest today, but tied to businesses with real pricing power, insurance premiums, pharmacy benefits, hospital systems. That income grows quietly and consistently because the underlying demand never goes away. The honest caveat. IHF is concentrated. Its top 10 holdings represent 70% of the fund. That concentration creates real volatility, drawdowns around 28% in difficult markets, with recovery times that can stretch close to a year. You need to understand that going in. The volatility is not a sign something is broken. It is the cost of owning businesses with permanent, non-discretionary demand. IHF is not the exciting part of this portfolio. It is the part that keeps you from doing something expensive when markets get uncomfortable. ETF 2. Income. SCHD. The second category is income, and this is where I see investors make the most costly mistakes. Go onto any investing forum right now, and someone is excited about a fund yielding 11%, 12%, sometimes 14%. And people chase those numbers because they look like income. They are not income. They are a snapshot, and in many cases, they are a trap. Here is a simple example. There are mortgage-focused funds currently yielding over 11%. Impressive headline. But look underneath, and the dividend has been shrinking by roughly 3 to 4% every year for the past decade, while the share price has quietly eroded over the same period. You are collecting a check while the asset underneath it slowly disappears. That is not passive income. That is a slow withdrawal from your own capital, dressed up to look like a dividend. What actually matters is not the yield you start with. It is whether that income is growing, sustainable, and keeping pace with inflation over 20 or 30 years. The fund that gets this balance right is SCHD, the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF. Current yield sits around 3.2%. That is real, meaningful income from day one. But the more important number is the 10-year dividend growth rate, approximately 10.7 to 11.5% annually, depending on the measurement period. That means the dividend has nearly tripled over the last decade. At that pace, the income doubles roughly every 6 to 7 years. You are not just earning, you are earning more every single year without doing anything. The 10-year annualized total return with dividends reinvested runs around 13%. That means $10,000 invested a decade ago in SCHD is worth approximately $34,000 today, with a growing income stream the entire time. Look at what SCHD actually owns: Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Coca-Cola, Merck, Chevron, Procter & Gamble, companies generating durable free cash flow that have raised dividends through recessions, through rate hikes, through a global pandemic. Since SCHD launched in 2011, it has never once cut or frozen its dividend. On a $10,000 investment, year 1 produces roughly $320 in dividends. By year 10, that grows to $800 to $1,000 annually. By year 20, over $3,000. By year 30, with dividends reinvested, the portfolio itself could be worth over $400,000, generating more than $20,000 in annual income. The yield you start with matters far less than the direction it is heading. The third category is one most investors ignore until it is too late: global diversification. The average American investor has somewhere between 90 and 95% of their portfolio in U.S. markets. That has been a reasonable bet for the past 15 years, but single country concentration carries a risk that is easy to dismiss right up until it becomes impossible to ignore. The U.S. market went essentially nowhere between 2000 and 2010, an entire decade, zero return on the S&P 500. Investors who were 100% U.S. had nothing to show for 10 years of patience. Meanwhile, international markets had their own extended periods of strong outperformance, and right now in 2026, international stocks have outperformed U.S. equities for the second consecutive year. Not a prediction, a fact currently happening. Geographic diversification is not about chasing foreign growth stories. It is about not having everything dependent on one economy, one central bank, one political cycle. The fund that earns this spot is FNDF, the Schwab Fundamental International Equity ETF. What separates FNDF from a standard international index fund is how it selects and weights its holdings. Instead of weighting by market capitalization, which tends to overload expensive and sometimes overvalued companies, FNDF weights by fundamentals, sales, cash flow, dividends, book value. It favors companies that are actually generating real business results, not just companies that have become popular. The fund holds nearly 900 companies across financials, industrials, healthcare, consumer goods, energy, and materials. Top positions include Samsung, Shell, Total Energies, Glencore, and Toyota. The top 10 holdings represent only about 14 to 15% of assets, far less concentrated than most ETFs in any category. Trailing dividend yield runs approximately 3 to 3.4%. 10-year annualized total return lands between 9.3 and 11.7%, depending on the measurement period. Over the past 12 months alone, FNDF returned over 38% with dividends included, reflecting genuine tailwinds for international value stocks right now. On $10,000 invested with dividends reinvested, the 10-year projection approaches $24,000 to $30,000, with the compounding continuing well beyond that. The international allocation is not just about adding return, it is about building a portfolio that does not require everything to go right in one country simultaneously. Fourth category, market exposure, SPY. You already know the candidates here, SPY, QQQ, VTI. All three are legitimate, but they are not interchangeable and the differences matter. QQQ has delivered extraordinary raw performance over the past decade, but approximately 60% of it sits in technology and communications. When sentiment shifts in that space, the drops are sudden and severe. It is an accelerator built for tailwinds. It is not a foundation. VTI owns the entire US market. Over 4,000 companies, maximum diversification on paper. But owning 4,000 companies also means owning thousands of small and mid-cap businesses that add complexity without meaningfully improving returns. You are diversified, but you are also diluted. SPY tracks the 500 most profitable, most dominant businesses operating in the US economy today. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Berkshire Hathaway. Companies generating real cash through every kind of market environment. The dividend yield on SPY runs about 0.97%. This is not primarily an income fund. The story here is price compounding. Over the past 10 years, SPY has delivered an annualized total return of approximately 15 to 15.6% with dividends reinvested, meaningfully above the long-run historical average of 10.5%, reflecting a decade that included strong years in 2019, 2021, 2023, 2024, and 2025. $10,000 in SPY a decade ago is worth approximately $42,000 to $43,000 today. It recovered from a 34% crash in 2020, from a 19% loss in 2022, from a 55% collapse in 2008 and 2009, every single time. This is the engine of the portfolio. Not the most exciting fund on this list, but the most consistently reliable over the longest time horizon. The fifth category is where most investors either go too far or avoid it entirely: concentrated growth. This is the part of the portfolio where you are deliberately accepting higher volatility in exchange for the possibility of significantly higher long-term returns. It is not for money you cannot afford to watch drop 30% temporarily. It is for capital you are genuinely committed to leaving alone for a decade or more. The fund that earns this position is VGT, the Vanguard Information Technology ETF. VGT is concentrated by design. Its top 10 holdings, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Broadcom, and others, make up roughly 54 to 60% of the fund. That is not an oversight, that is the thesis. The companies driving enterprise technology, semiconductors, cloud infrastructure, and artificial intelligence represent a sustained and compounding shift in how the global economy actually operates. Over the past 10 years, VGT has delivered an annualized total return of approximately 24 to 25%. $10,000 invested a decade ago is worth roughly $85,000 to $90,000 today. Total 10-year return above 849%. Since its inception in 2004, VGT has returned approximately 15% per year, turning $10,000 into over $228,000. The income is minimal, trailing yield around 0.3%. Everything here is price compounding. The volatility is real, and you need to respect it. VGT fell nearly 30% in 2022 alone. It dropped over 40% in 2008. These are not small temporary inconveniences. They are the price of admission for what happens on the other side. At a sustained rate of 20 to 25% annually, $10,000 over 30 years, if the underlying technology trajectory continues, could approach or exceed $1.5 million. The math becomes difficult to believe at those rates over that time horizon, but that is exactly how compounding works. The final 10 years do more work than the first 20 combined. You cannot replicate that by starting later. Here is what took me a long time to actually believe about all of this. The returns are not the difficult part. The math is straightforward. Buy quality assets, reinvest the income, stay out of your own way when markets fall, and time does the majority of the work. The difficult part is holding when 34% disappears in 33 days. The difficult part is doing nothing when every instinct tells you to act. The difficult part is trusting a system you built on a calm Tuesday when everything feels like it is unraveling on a panicked Wednesday. That hospital administrator from Tennessee did not outperform because she was smarter than everyone who sold. She outperformed because she understood what she owned, why she owned it, and what each fund was specifically built to do under pressure. She had already made the important decisions. March 2020 was just the moment that proved they were the right ones. You do not need perfect timing. You do not need to predict the next crash. You need 5 solid funds, a long enough runway, and the patience to let compounding finish what you started.